And welcome to the Drive to Draw podcast. Tonight we have a special guest host with me, David AUST, mate. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Much better looking than my previous co-host or my current co-host in Phil, but Phil's coming up a little bit later in our Around the Grounds, and we did actually interview him as our 22nd player interview, which was a bit of fun as well.
It was.
Absolutely. Austie, how's your week been on the bowling green?
Well, we had a good win on Somerton had a good win on the weekend to qualify for the finals in Div 1, so happy about that. Our rink didn't get the chocolates, but overall we held didn't lose too badly, so allowed our other teams to get over the top of Mills, which was nice, and we back up again this weekend to play them again, so looking forward to that.
All right, mate, let's get into Around the Greens, and we've got some pretty hot topics to cover right from the get-go.
Around the Greens.
All right, mate, as we do with Phil every week, we talk about the Premier League and Division 1 results. We might even just touch base a little bit on Division 2, but let's kick off with a pretty hot topic that's sort of been doing the rounds in the bowl circle. The hot weather that's predicted for this weekend, mate. Take it away. We went through it off air, and I'd love you to share with what you've come up with the listeners.
Yeah, certainly. So with the forecast being 38 on Saturday with an overnight temperature of 27 degrees, obviously with the heat policy, only for the Division 1 guys only playing 18 ends, there is a possibility the temperature may get up pretty quickly and the game get called off. Rather than going down that path, I was thinking that maybe we should be playing the two games on the Sunday. I know there's a forecast of some showers, but it's still going to be 28, 29 degrees. Yep. So conditions I can't see being too uncomfortable. Yeah, a little bit of rain, but temperature will be nice. And I just think for everyone, get a full game in, increased chance, got daylight saving still, so play the two games at 21 ends.
So the alternative is if it does get to a certain temperature by a certain time, you've got to have played 12 ends minimum. Yep. Do we really want finals decided by 12 ends?
It wouldn't be my call on that one. I think, especially the knockout game, I just think it would, someone gets off to a hot start and the game's pretty much over.
Yep.
I don't recall the last time I've played 12 ends in a fours match. So, other than your social bowls and things like that. Yep. So, I'd really like the 21 ends to be played.
Yep, it is a final. So, like most finals, whether it be a state club championships, there's no time limits. So, I don't think we should be putting any time restrictions or end restrictions on a final, especially when there's clubs that have been fighting like mad to make the finals, and all of a sudden they're only getting 12 ends. It just doesn't really make sense, does it?
And the heat, if we're talking about 34, 35 by 9:30, 10 o'clock, it's not an enjoyable game anyway. So let's go to Sunday and see what happens. But in the hands of the
NBA, which
greater minds than mine, so we'll see what they come up with.
We're only here for opinions. We're not making any hard and fast decisions, but it's going to be an interesting one. If clubs want to arrange matches, and this is where it becomes quite hard, is normally it'd be played on the following Friday night. But with the double header being played, the Saturday, Sunday, it makes it a lot harder for us to schedule that, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're just running out of time. So, if it may be postpone everything by a week and maybe move the first round of matches to the Saturday.
Yep.
To the Sunday, sorry.
Yes.
And then move everything else to the Friday. Then you've got work commitments and those type of things that are involved in with a Friday night. I think everyone's probably pretty much scrubbed through Sunday anyway.
Yes.
Just on the case that
you're
might
playing
the match.
Yep.
So, the morning is going to be free anyway, so let's get the two games going.
Yep. Is it inconceivable that on Saturday we might start at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning? Could that happen?
I think it's a possibility. I know in WA they start early.
Yep.
8:30. we've both played in the Australian Open where they start at 8:30 in the morning.
Yep.
I can't see an issue with it. Guys, maybe prepare the greens on Friday night. I can't see the greens being overly busy on a Friday night with the temperature
Being
of
a 37
degrees.
Yep.
So they've pretty much got a free rein to work on the greens and then just give them a roll on Saturday morning.
It's a bit like the Adelaide Oval AFL saga at the moment, isn't it? What green are we going to play on, and where it's going to be played? It's going to be very, very interesting. All right, mate, we're going to roll through tonight's episode reasonably quickly because we are up to, obviously, the final round of Premier League and also Division 1. But let's kick us off with Westlakes defeating Somerton 92 shots to 67. I don't think too many people saw that one coming.
No, I don't think so either. And from my understanding, Westlakes brought in a few lower division players, and they did the job. Played really well.
Let's talk about that for just a second. They had to bring up players from much lower divisions because they didn't want to upset too much in their middle divisions, which look like they're going to play finals.
Yep.
Have we become too ridiculous and fanatical with players not filling in for, say, 1 week because of other players up high not being available?
You can look at it two ways. One is looking at it that way. The other way is giving maybe people an opportunity and see what they've got.
Yep.
Those people are stuck down in the lower grades. All of a sudden, have got time to shine.
Yep.
And
on this occasion, they did.
They shined, and they may have an opportunity next year to play in a higher grade where, previously they've been stuck in the lower grades. It's the same with Taylor's Cup or Henselite Challenge, those type of things. You get people playing at that, and all of a sudden they've got a time to shine playing against better bowlers.
Absolutely. Mate, I know it's a little hard for you to comment on this one, but Somerton losing that one, is it something they should be worried about going into finals, or is it a case of, look, season's done, they're on top, Westlake's season was done, they're not getting relegated, they're not making finals. Is it a case of them just having a little bit of a free hit on Saturday?
I think so. I don't know how seriously they took the game. They were well and truly clear. Obviously with Scooter missing.
Yep.
And that'll be interesting to see if he comes back this week. But I think they'll flick the switch. They've got too much class in their side, but we'll talk about the match and type of thing.
They're not the reigning premiers for no good reason. That's for sure.
That's it.
Hawthorn defeating Lockleys 86 to 59. I think we sort of thought that would be the case.
Yep.
Lockleys did well in the second half of the year, just to frighten a few teams along the way.
They did, and they had a couple of wins, which was nice for them. And look, I think obviously they'll get relegated down to Div 1, but I think they'll be fairly competitive in Div 1 if they stay with the players. No one else leaves the club.
Yep.
And it's given, again, those players who played in lower divisions previous years lots of experience. I've been chatting to a couple of them.
Yep.
They've enjoyed it thoroughly. They want to come back over winter, practice more, and see what we...
And that's what bowls clubs are about. Yeah, exactly right.
Yep.
And Hawthorn obviously making the 4 in their reintroduction to Premier League again this year. So fantastic effort for them as well.
Yeah, great effort.
This one was going to be an interesting match. Adelaide v Modbury. Adelaide 89 to 65 for Modbury. Adelaide had everything to play for, really, as far as getting maximum points and putting a little bit of pressure on Ascot. And we'll talk about the Ascot HOLDFAST game in a minute. But look, I don't think anybody's surprised that this is pretty much where we're at, and Adelaide go in warm favourites in their first final against Hawthorn.
They do. There's class. There's guys who enjoy playing finals.
Yep.
Enjoy playing the pressure type bowls.
And they've got that mix of youth.
Exactly. So there'll be some interesting matchups which we'll talk about. But
Yep.
Adelaide's team to watch.
Absolutely. Modbury promoting a lot of their youth this year. I think it's paid off for them. Their second side, I think, finished middle of the table as well, which their top side finished middle of the table.
Yep.
They had a very good start to 2025, or this half of the season. I know they got us up at Modbury there. It was running very, very well, and Tomo had a good day out, and Dory's there. So if you've got class like that and build around it, and they've got some really good juniors, they're going to be a team to watch in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we live streamed a couple of their kids when Modbury played Salisbury, and it's great for the club to do that and, take a little bit of a risk, a little bit of a punt, but definitely paid off the long-term future of the club.
Absolutely. Holdfast hosted Ascot, Holdfast 60, Ascot 109. The job was pretty simple. We were all focused on obviously trying to get all 4 rinks up. And the biggest winning rink was actually Sammy Dietrich, who was actually pretty close with about 5 or 6 ends to go, and then they blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
Ascot are going to be one team to watch. If we'll talk about the matchups for this week in a minute, but you've got a really interesting statistic to bring up a little bit later on as to who won where and everything in their minor round matches. Yep. And to finish us off, Grange just going down to Salisbury, 75 to 79.
Yeah.
Again, Salisbury, great first year back up in Prem. They're going to need to recruit. We did speak with Brent Marshall last week about recruiting. I think Grange are in the same boat. They're probably going to need to recruit 1 or 2 as well.
Yep. Both clubs, Salisbury's main aim was to stay up and then second year work from there. So
absolutely. No point in going through the ladder. The ladder didn't change as far as positions. Somerton, Ascot, Adelaide and Hawthorn were the 4 teams. All right, let's get into this week's games, mate. We'll start off with Adelaide v Hawthorn.
All right. So their matchups in the start of the year, both clubs won at home.
Yep.
Fairly convincingly from both clubs. Adelaide's changed their rinks a fair bit since then. Again, when you've got guys like Scotty Tholborn, those type of guys playing.
Nathan Black will be back.
Yeah, Nathan Black will be back. He's on a bit of a roll.
Yep.
Watched that game on Sunday in the live streaming with
Lee Strainer.
Yep. And that was a pretty awesome game, and Blackie did well. That rink did really well just to keep the numbers as tight as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, so Blackie bowled some great bowls in the match. So him being back, those type of things. So it will be an interesting matchup.
It certainly will. We probably give Adelaide the best chance of winning that game, but does the shortened ends maybe help Hawthorn?
It's an interesting one. I still favour Adelaide just with the big guns that they've got. Like everything else, it comes down to matchups on the day.
Yep.
Some individuals get off to a flyer, and then again the shortened ends play into there. You don't want to drop a 6 early or anything like that, because then that changes the mindset of the players.
Exactly right. I know we don't have any specific teams, but who's the matchup you'd like to see? Scotty versus Matty Northcott?
Well, you look at the rinks. Definitely Scott versus Matt. I think Matty won the was the leading skip for the year. Scott was basically second, and I think he missed a game.
Yep.
So that would be the ultimate matchup. Anytime you get 2 gun players from each club
going head to head,
and the rinks are pretty solid.
Absolutely,
I'd like to see that.
Quick tip, mate. Adelaide for me as well. All right, the big one, the winner of this game goes on to the grand final, Somerton v Ascot. As much as you'd love to be impartial, I know that you're a Somerton man and I'm an Ascot man, so I think we already know our tips there, but it's going to be an interesting matchup.
It is, and this one was slightly different with the 2 matchups early in the year. Both sides won away from home, which is a little bit unusual.
Yes.
So, again, it may come down to the matchups. I know the first game, Seamus Gurdon was missing from the first game, so that adds a little bit of class to the Ascot Park side.
Yes.
We'll wait and see what happens. Like I said, I think Somerton will flick the switch.
Yep.
And their front end is very strong, which we saw from last year's grand final against West Lakes. That's generally what won the game across the board. So we'll wait and see what happens.
Like any bowls game, front end sets up whether you win, back end decides by how much.
Yep.
It's an old cliche, but it is still rings true, doesn't it? Yep. I think you're right. The Somerton matchup there with Seamus versus...
I'd like to see Pedo.
Yeah.
I think that would be
that was
two
the
young
one,
guns.
That was the one that I would have... they actually played each other at Somerton... round 10, I think it was, or the second half of the season there at Somerton, and I think Nathan got out to an absolute flyer, and then Seamus just kept pegging him back, but the other rinks had covered. So, it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. Shortened ends, who benefits? Whoever rolls out of bed the best.
Well, that's it. Depending on what time we start, those type of things, who's prepared.
Yep.
Again, it's a little bit different. We pretty much get 15, 20 minutes of roll up, and that's pretty much it. Yep. So it is very dependent on that hot start.
Absolutely.
Who gets it.
I know you're going Summerton, I'm going Ascot. Of course, we can't change that at all. That is being played at the Summerton Bowling Club. So if you want to brave the conditions on Saturday, if we are playing on Saturday, by all means, drop into Summerton. I'm sure the bar will be open reasonably early.
Yeah, and it's a little bit cooler at Summerton.
It is a little bit cooler. And after the game, you can always just hop down the road there to the beach, which is fantastic. I think that's what I'll be doing, that's for sure. Yeah. All right, mate, let's move on to Division 1, round 18 games. Paynham going down to Woodville, 49 to 88 shots. We sort of flagged this one 4 or 5 weeks ago in that it was important for Paynham to maybe win this game to avoid relegation, but unfortunately it was taken out of their hands the week before.
It's a bit of a shame with Paynham, basically going the two
drops. The bang bang, yep.
Yeah, but I reckon they'll rebuild and be really competitive in that Div 2, and you never know, we might see them back up to Div 1.
Absolutely. Some of their more established players, like Christina Kirshner, Harry Faulkner, through personal reasons and a little bit of injury, played in their second side, which I think is Div 4. They're sitting top. So all being well, they'll go up. They'll probably strengthen that top side. They just need to hold on to their younger ones and a bit more stability. I think that's the key here. They had some players that were in and out as well.
And they've definitely got that home ground advantage.
They definitely do. All right, Toorak Burnside unfortunately taking on Port Noarlunga. Toorak 55 and Port Noarlunga 84. You're probably best placed to give us a bit of a rundown on Port Noarlunga. They look pretty solid.
We played them week before and they gave us a real touch-up. They are very strong across the board. Their skips are very strong. Saw an absolute class from Max Kleinig the week before up against Michael White. Max couldn't do anything wrong. And it was brilliant to watch, even though
you're on the receiving end.
Yeah,
I've been there with Nathan a few times, so I understand it.
Yeah, to me, they seem more stronger than Marion, but we've probably been a little bit more competitive against Marion, where not so against Port Noarlunga.
Yep,
maybe the matchup suit Port Noarlunga a little bit more.
Yep,
but we'll wait and see.
Absolutely,
but it should be a cracker of a final between those two.
It should be. Henley just going down to Marion, 62 shots to 68. Henley were in with a little bit of a chance, but always playing the top side is going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, they've had definitely a great second half of the season, got very close. We got over them the 2 times, which probably made the difference, where we lost against a couple of the lower ranked sides.
Funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. We enjoyed playing Henley.
Yep.
They've got some class players in that side, so they're always a chance.
Absolutely. Modbury getting up over Tranmere, 75 to 55. I think we sort of flagged that that's probably the case. It's a long year for Tranmere. Tranmere have been around the mark for a couple of years. They are going to keep their colour, which is good. They just need 1 or 2 players to inject into that side, don't they?
They do. They just need a couple of younger bodies down there.
Definitely.
And
the home ground advantage is a big part for them as well. And your team, Summerton, getting up over Millswood. A little bit of a pre-rehearsal for this week.
Yeah, it's fairly interesting at the start of the game, and a few comments at the end of the game from the Millswood boys. They thought, they weren't taking it overly seriously, but we'll wait and see what happens on Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, as we mentioned, the ladder did not change from last week to this week, but we'll first talk about this week's first match, Millswood v Summerton, at the Marion Bowling Club.
So going on the results again with these two clubs, Marion won their game at home, and same Port Noarlunga won their game at home, and it even probably more convincingly. Both had reasonably easy wins for both teams. So Marion's definitely got an advantage playing at the club. I'm sure there will be a breeze, and I'm sure the Greens will be running at a nice clip as well. So I do favour Marion at home, but it wouldn't surprise me if Port Noarlunga got up.
Absolutely. I know you're going to pick Summerton over Millswood, but Millswood to make a another final in another division when they've basically jumped divisions over the last 4 or 5 years is a fantastic achievement.
Oh, they're an awesome club as well. The guys are a fabulous bunch of guys. You always have an enjoyable game. Their spirit is fantastic. So we'll give it a best shot.
Absolutely.
Best team win.
Should be an interesting, if you're in the area of the Marion Bowling Club on Saturday, depending on games, as we said a little bit earlier, drop in. I'm sure the facilities there in the shade will be fantastic. And like you said, there might be just a little bit of a breeze around, especially with the change coming through Sunday. When we get it on Saturday, who knows?
Yep.
All right, mate, let's we'll just talk Division 2 very, very quickly. It looks like Edwardstown's pretty much all got that one well and truly sewn up.
Yeah, they've got the class players. Millsy coming into the side. Adelaide have got lots of experienced bowlers in there, so they may surprise, but can't see Edwardstown being beaten.
We'll watch that one with interest, and we'll report back, obviously, next week. Are you a fan of the doubleheader, just before we move on? The finals doubleheader?
It gets it over. I wish we had more doubleheaders throughout the year.
Right, which we've been calling for,
Yeah, look, to me, I grew up playing bowls on New South Wales Central Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Pennant season's over in 10 weeks. You have some finals, and then you have a weekend away if you're good enough against all the other regions. I love the way that is done. It promotes bowls all over New South Wales at the right time of the year, which they are doing pennant finals at the moment at different clubs. I love that. I think my personal feeling is pennant season goes along a bit too long here. But
say it was, 14 weeks, as in double headers, to make it reduced to 14 weeks?
Yeah, or even the dirty word, just reducing the number of teams in the in the divisions. Yeah, probably down to 8 and then just go from there. I still like the 4 rink format. I think the 3 rink format's too cutthroat. You get 1 rink that goes down, you can't cover them. Whereas with the 4 rink, 1 rink can go down, but you can still have a win.
All right, love it, mate. All right, let's get on to some hot shots.
Karen, better track. She works off this bowl. She played it very well. Well, there we go. I didn't think it was going to get back to the jack. She played it pretty good. Holding the 1 shot.
What a great shot that is. Probably got the maximum result from it as well, but played the right way and got in that area. Had the bowls to work off.
That's it. That last one of Tiff's maybe a little bit more enticing, just to play a little bit extra speed. Played it very well nonetheless.
And around the regions tonight, we have Phil Fechner, but not in the studio here. He's on the line. Fecky, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me all the way down here at Beachport.
Mate, I heard
beautiful spot.
Heard that you're at a pretty nice spot down there and extended your holiday by a few days.
Yes, I did. Yes, too nice down here. Mightn't come home yet.
Absolutely.
So we'll wait and see.
Absolutely. All right, mate.
All right.
Barossa and Light, you were all over it on the weekend before you left.
All over it.
Let us know what happened, mate.
I had a roving reporter out there, Pete, as you know.
I do.
The prelim final was a draw. We didn't pick that.
No, we did not pick that. That's about the first one we've haven't picked all year.
I think we picked Angus, both picked Anguston, but Kapunda, who, could be an upset. And, well, it was a draw after the 21 ends, and Kapunda went on and won. After that, they had all rinks went on and replayed another end, and Kapunda got over the line. So they moved on into the grand final since 1983 or something like that, I think they said. Justin Morris was the biggest winning rank, 23 to Cat Green, 14. But apparently my roving reporter tells me that Adrian Green had a day out and should be still playing state bowls even. So
there you go.
there's
You've heard it first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. So there you go. I'll quickly run through the other divisions. Anguston bowing out in all of them, Pete, this week.
Yes, wow.
Anguston Blue in Div 2, 52 to Newry 72. And Div 3, Anguston Blue again, lost to Tanunda 65. So, which is meaning in Div 2, Kapunda Red versus Newry, grand final this week. And in Div 3, Yadunda versus Tanunda, which is played at 9 o'clock, Pete, because unfortunately a couple of the rinks at Kapunda are unplayable. I think it's rink 1 and 2.
Yep.
So they've got to play early. So, yeah.
Nothing to do with the heat, because we've just talked about the heat being an interesting policy, and especially up in the country.
Tell me, what happens Saturday, Pete?
I'll let Osti take it away, man.
So basically, because the temperature is 36 degrees or above, the policy during the year has been basically got to start at 9:15. The number of events is cut down to 18. And then if the temperature reaches 36 degrees and we've played 12 ends, that constitutes the match.
Wow.
So
I'll have to get going early.
So if that happens this week, it will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay,
so,
yeah. What about if it's 40?
I would assume
it's
that's
still the same.
Yeah.
It's basically any time
Okay.
over 36, they want the game played. One of the issues this week is that Friday nights, I think the minimum temperature is 26, 27 degrees. So it's going to get up fairly warm fairly quickly on Saturday. So the next one is if we don't get to 12 ends, then we got to go back generally the next Friday night. But we're playing the knockout on the Sunday. So
Yeah, that's right.
the prelim on the Sunday. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the NBA come up with in relation to. I'm thinking my thoughts are that we should be playing the two games on the Sunday, even if we get the rain they're talking about. The temperature's still 29 degrees. I've played in worse conditions. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that's my thought on it. But we'll wait and see what happens. See what they decide tomorrow night.
Yep.
Well, mate, obviously we talked with Kat Green about who she wanted the last bowl in the hand for, and she did say Adrian, and he sort of made that come true, didn't he?
Yeah, apparently had just an unbelievable day. One of the guys was telling me over there, and that state bowl should still be on his cards there. But quickly, so we've got Newry playing Kapunda at Kapunda then this week, Pete.
Yep. Is that because obviously Newry finished higher than Kapunda? How does how does that work?
Yeah, they usually do it before the season.
Okay.
Like it doesn't matter who's in the grand final. Basically, they share it around is what they say. Yeah. Okay. So just looking through the teams quickly today, Pete. Looks like Ashley Schultz has come into the Newry side again, and he swapped with Nigel Rookie as a 3. So and Brenton Brown, Brownie that done the tournament the other week.
Yes.
He comes back into the side. So they're at full strength, Newry. They go in at full strength. So we need a tip from you boys.
I'm going to have to go Newry.
Newry for me.
Yeah, me too.
We've got another tip there?
Yep, Newry. Yep.
All Newry.
We're all Newry. As much as I love the Greens and what they've done this year, just that little bit of strength, as you said, those players coming in just adds to their another string to their bow, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I can't go past. And haven't won a flag for a few years. It was my last year up there. They won the flag, so it must be about 8 years.
Wow.
Newry haven't won one, so they're probably due for one, but Kapunda probably overdue. They're about 1980 something. Somebody was telling me during the week. So
stranger things can happen. Stranger things can happen in a final.
Yep, absolutely. Quickly, while I've got you there, on a little bit more news is Ash Thomas from Linddock, club champion in the singles and in the pairs with Harry Sykes. So I was talking to Ash today, and I said I'd give him a yell out on the bowl show today. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's about all I've got on that, Pete.
No.
So we're going to the grand final this week. Anguston's reign is over, so there we go.
Was that 7 or 8 in a row that they'd won?
Yeah, I think they'd won 7.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was 7 and would have been 8, but yeah, she's over. So
we might have to speak to the mayor of Newry if they do get up.
He won't be sober for a week after that.
Probably not. Mad Monday celebrations. Mate, thanks for jumping on tonight and talking, obviously, all things the Barossa and Light Association. Good luck to all the teams playing on the weekend. And, best of luck moving forward to Kapunda and Newry at Kapunda. So if you're in the area,
all the finals at grand finals at Kapunda.
Yep.
So
yep, if you're in the area, drop in. I'm sure they'll get a fair, decent crowd there and put on a pie, pasty, and sausage roll, and we should be all right under the hanger. Exactly right, mate. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Cheers, mate.
And
got my jumper on down here at Beachport. So
wow. We're sweating it out here, mate. We're sweating it out here.
It's been a while since the jumper.
Exactly right. Thanks for joining us, Phil. And,
no worries. Cheers, boys.
And we'll leave it there.
Thank you. Cheers.
Have a good one.
Players interview.
All right, and tonight on our 22nd End Players interview, we've got Phil Fechner, who was on the line with us a little bit earlier. We thought we'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone, considering he's not here in the studio with us. Welcome along, Phil.
Thank you very much, boys. Not much to tell on my career, I tell you that.
No, mate.
Anyway, it'll be a short one.
Let's rewind and take it back to where you started, mate.
Yeah, well, it was all night owls. Certainly started at Tanunda night owls and moved over to Newry night owls for one reason or another. We won't go into that. And then I was obviously short 1 week. And the second week,
as always happens, yes, I do
and
remember
about 12 years, and about 12 years later, they weren't short anymore. So, so it's up at Newry. Lucky enough to play at a club like that, as you know, Pete. You've been up there a few times with me, and
fantastic,
very successful club. We had six premierships while I was there, so I was spoiled a bit. And then I'd still be there today, but moved to town and. Went to Salisbury for sort of half a year. Things didn't quite work out there. Moved over to Payneham, and I was there for about 7 years, I think it was, at Payneham. Enjoyed my time there. And, moved on to Walkerville this year and loving it there at the moment, so which is good. And you got to be happy in your job, don't you? So, so far so good. No club championships to talk about, Pete. Only I got a pairs at Payneham, that was all. And but other than that, not too many awards. A bit of a battler.
So did they start you out as a lead or?
I started as a lead. Newry got a policy up there that you lead for 4 or 5 years. So I led up there for many years and enjoyed that. And then went as a 3. Left the club as a 3. I didn't skip. I skipped a couple of games, but they had their set skips. We're a very strong club up there. So moved down to Salisbury and I led down there then for about half a year, and then went to Payneham as a 2 and played 2 there for many years, 2 or a 3. So enjoyed my time there. So
Who were some of the big names at Newry that some of the locals up there might get a bit excited about if we mention them, mate?
Yeah, no, we had some big names. We had Scotty Tholborn, he was a greenkeeper up there, and obviously a great skip. We had Adam Forbes as a skip. We had the great man Stewie Forbes. He was either skipping or 3. Jeff Langley, he was a skip. And obviously the great man Rob Gropey, who's won, I think, about 11 club singles or something up there, and absolute legend of the club. So, it's always hard to get a skipper's gig up there, but I enjoyed my time up there. They're a good club.
And what about Salisbury when you moved there? Who sort of got you over to Salisbury, and how did that all come about, mate?
Yeah, well, I played, it was called Taylor Cup then for them. I was still playing at Newry, and they invited me down to play that. And I think we came runner-up in the, I think it was in the, I don't know whether it's in the gold or the silver, it doesn't really matter. And so then I moved to town, and they just, one thing led to the next. It was probably through Matty Short and Sorey, Graham Saw. I played a few tournaments with him, and they sort of talked me into it. And it was when that big Modbury influx came to Salisbury, and I was playing in the top side, and then one thing I was sort of out of that, and I moved on. So but no hard feelings with the club now, and it's all good. So the good blokes out there.
And then the same with Payneham, who sort of suggested coming to Payneham, and who were some of the names there that you played with that some of the listeners might know from around the traps?
That was a funny one, because I was playing in, which was Salisbury's second side. It was a Div 4, I reckon. Payneham were playing somewhere the one day, and Chris Flavel emailed me and said, "Oh, what are you doing playing Div 4? I said, "Well, that's where I'm picked at the moment." So he said, "Oh, if you come across to us, I can guarantee you." So I played all Premier League for the next 5 or 6 years, whatever. Payneham were in Premier League. And it was through Chris Flavel got me across, and Gabe Nadekia played in Gabe's rank just about every year, and then he left. And who did I play with then? I can't remember now. Different people. You sort of flipped around a bit, but I really enjoyed my time at Payneham, and and obviously I played with there, Pete.
Oh, don't talk about that, mate.
Big names. You're talking the big names now.
Now you're just sucking up, mate. You are going to be back on the podcast next week, mate.
I will be. I'll be back. Yep.
Ready and raring for some of the finals, depending on what happens this weekend, which we did talk about a little bit earlier on with the heat policy. Mate, you're obviously playing in some tournaments around the place at the moment. Retired life is treating you well?
It sure is. Yeah, love it. Just got back, as you know, Pete, from Victor last week. I didn't bring my bowls to Beachport, so I was going to, but I see they got a bowling club here, but no, I left them home. But I love the tournaments. I go off to 2 Worlds in a couple of weeks, and then off to Clare for a 2-day up there. So it's good fun. Yeah, it certainly beats working.
Lucky man.
You looking at heading up to the Gold Coast at all, or?
No, I haven't put that one on my calendar yet.
Not this year, anyway.
No, not this year. No, see what happens.
Been a couple of years.
I won't never say never.
Yeah, no, it's a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, I know Big Pete tries to get me there every year, and I sort of said no so far, but I guess I'll weaken at one stage and take the wife up with me, and we'll spend a couple of weeks up there. Sounds good.
That's what it's all about, mate. That's exactly what it's all about. All right, mate, we better get you out of here on a few tough questions like we always do. Mate.
I just about know these questions. I don't know. All right, you hit me with them, Pete.
No. Well, we'll start off. You've obviously moved to Walkerville this year, so it's probably a little harder to do with some of those questions as to who is the GOAT of the club.
Yeah. Good one. No, Peter Canala. I'll say Peter Canala.
Yep.
He won the club single again this year, and I believe he's won a couple others. So I'm not that privileged to know what the history is too much, but I think he's won a couple. So I'd have to say Pete.
Yep, fair enough. Ones to watch or most underrated players?
Yep, Brad Joseph came across from, where did he come from? Doesn't matter. Croydon, I think it was. And only a younger lad, a lot younger than me anyhow.
Yep.
Showing a lot of promise. Plays 3 to Lewis Graham. So I'd say Brad.
Yep. And he's one of our listeners. We've only got 2. He's one of them that listens on a Saturday morning. Is that right?
He does. On the way to bowls.
Gets him fired up. Who's your main rival in pennant matches?
That's a good one. Probably, I suppose it's Payneham.
Being
they know
closest.
each other, and they almost amalgamated a couple of years ago. There was talk we were going to amalgamate.
Yep.
And, but, I mean, again, I've only been there for, 12, 13, 14 games, 15 games. So, I'm not really no real rivals that I know of, but probably Payneham.
No. Who brings the most energy to your team?
I'd say Angus Dixon. Okay. He's a younger guy who lives down at Port Noarlunga, but he's always up and about.
Favourite away club to play at?
Away club to play at. I tell you, I like Beaumont. Love Beaumont. We didn't play there this year, but I do like the greens there.
Yep.
Beautiful greens.
Yes.
Beaumont for me.
Okay. Well, you played in the country as well. What about favourite country away club to play at?
Good one. I like Kapunda.
Yep.
Although their greens do need a little bit of, I think they need a bit of a stretch, but I do love it there under the cover. Can be a little bit dark at times, but I still like Kapunda. It's a nice setup.
All right, mate. Couple of last ones for you. Last bowl is in anybody's hands. Who are you entrusting to win the game for you? They're square. The big board's square overall. One bowl to come. Who's got the bowl
From
for you,
my
mate?
club?
You can do it from your club and also in general.
Okay, from my club, I'd probably put it in. I reckon I'll put it in Angus Dixon's hand. He's very steady and he's got a huge drive on him if he needs to. And from any other club, then?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, anybody.
I'd have to say Pete Matthews.
Settle down, mate.
You had a couple of drinks tonight.
Yeah, clearly you're under the influence.
No,
here.
I haven't. No alcohol at all.
Mate, I would have thought you'd have picked someone like Scotty T or a Wayne Rudiger or Alex Marshall or something like that.
They get too much exposure. I've got to put you in, Pete.
Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Well, hopefully that's a good sign for this weekend, Touchwood.
Yeah, good luck,
mate,
too.
We'll get you out here on the last one here. If a movie's made about you, what's the name of the movie, mate, and who's playing you?
Oh, it's probably Shrek. I probably look a bit like Shrek, don't I?
I love it. Well, we don't have to leave that up to the imagination of the listeners tonight. I think we've got our answer right there. Shrek for Shrek. Phil, thanks for joining us once again on our 22nd Players interview tonight. And, mate, we'll see you back next week.
Thanks, boys. Thank you very much. You must have been pretty hard up for an interview tonight. So, but I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Very hard,
boys.
mate. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, boys. Catch ya.
All right, and we thank Phil there for his efforts in bringing us up to date with the Barossa and Light Association finals and what happened there, and also the players' interview as well, mate. Let's move on to the extra ends. Let's talk about the Bowls SA finals week, 31st of March to the 3rd of April, being held at Club Holdfast.
Should be some great greens at Club Holdfast for that time of year. I know being played a few games at Club Holdfast, definitely towards the end of the season, the greens are really good there. So.
We played there last weekend. There's a few spots that are under repair, but with the weather sort of being the way it is at the moment, I reckon they're going to be absolutely cherry ripe by the end of the month, which is, I think, good timing and good green management, I suppose, from that point of view. And they'll have a nice green top and they'll run very, very well.
Yep. Some good bowlers at the clubs too.
Absolutely. The Bowls SA Awards Night, 31st of May, if I remember rightly. Get your nominations in for your club. Like we've mentioned before, Club Volunteer of the Year. I think we even put our hand up for the media, maybe. I don't know how we enter that, but if someone wants to nominate us, we'd love it, which would be a lot of fun. Club of the Year, et cetera, et cetera. Your club secretary should know that already. Bowls tips, we might leave the bowls tips till next week. I think there's finals that might be included in that, which might give us a couple of chances to catch up for a few missing rounds that some of us got wrong or got them around the wrong way. But anyway, that's the way it goes. All right, let's move on to tournaments. West Lakes Skins Day, Saturday the 12th of April. Teams of 4, 2 lots of 4s, 2 lots of pairs, $120 per team. Promises to be a pretty good event.
Sounds like a good day.
Absolutely. Get out to West Lakes. And this one came across my desk actually late today. The Kangaroo Island Autumn Carnival, Wednesday the 23rd of April to Sunday the 27th of April. It's a big, big event.
Yes.
Have you been in it before?
No, I have not been in the Kangaroo Island. I'd love to do it.
Yep.
But not as yet.
Multiple events. I think there's all 4s, and then there's that's on one day, and then it's like a ladies' day, then it's a men's day, and then it's a pairs' day. So they've got all the disciplines covered there. If you want to get away, like most of our listeners might have a caravan, take your caravan up there and support the local Kangaroo Island Association there.
Yeah, that'd be a fun week.
It would be a fun week.
I think that's some of our clubs need to look at.
Yep. As in getting away as a group or as in doing a bit more of a sort of a 3-day...
2-3 day tournaments.
Yep.
Especially a couple of the clubs that have got synthetics during winter.
Yep.
I think if they could throw some money out, I think they'd be surprised how many people they get into the tournaments.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to BPL Cup venues. Haven't changed, except for one's been already played last weekend. I think that was up at Moonta or somewhere out in the country regions there. But we've got Boolaroo, Berry, Torrensville, Kapunda, Salisbury, Mount Gambier, Port Augusta. As per usual, we'll let you know when they get updated, but most of those are in the next 2 or 3 months. So you've got a little bit of time. Yep. Grab your teammates. It's a great event to get involved with. All right, National Events Australian Indoor Singles Qualifying, Sunday the 18th of May and the finals on the 25th of May. More information to come from Bowls SA. All right, mate, let's finish off with a couple of general questions and hot topics. Let's start off with the hot weather. We did top the show with the hot weather. What's the best solution for the hot weather policy, mate? Or your interpretation? I know I'm giving you a question without notice, but what's the best interpretation of it?
My best interpretation is basically whatever is happening the night before. If it's cool the night before, then we play 21 ends or until the heat gets to 36.
Yep.
And we start early.
Yep.
If it's a warm one the night before, like in the 20s, delay it until the following Friday and play the following Friday.
Yep. So you could get a Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal, which would be fantastic for everyone who loves their bowls.
Yeah, that's more probably general. This weekend is a little bit different because you could run into trouble in regards to weather. Yep. And I don't think you want to play that type of thing. But just in general, I think the 18 ends I definitely don't like. Yep. If the weather cuts you off at 36 degrees and you only played 18, fair enough. But I don't think we've been close this year.
12 ends for a final is not the ideal situation. All right, mate, let's finish off. You did mention this just a minute ago. You've sort of led me into it very, very nicely. Is there an opportunity, because there are a few more clubs now that do have synthetic surfaces, for a winter pennant competition? And could it happen? And how and why would it happen? Even if it's like a limited 6-week season.
I think there's an opportunity there.
Yep.
Definitely with the number of clubs going synthetic.
Yep.
Definitely for those who want to play bowls all year round.
Yep.
Those who want to walk away and have winter off,
by all means,
go for it.
Yep.
But definitely it is an opportunity, and it may be a way of introducing a smaller divisions.
Yep.
And ways of improving for the summer.
I think the other thing that plays into the hands of maybe a winter six-week season or whatever is leading into the Australian Open. There's a lot of players that do like to travel up there, and you're sort of scratching around for social games and trying to get in a bit of practice here and there. If we could somehow time it a little bit towards that,
yes,
it could work very, very nicely as well, and it probably keeps you better players involved a lot longer as well.
Yep, certainly could. I know a couple of years ago, I was going up to Mount Barker to have a game because the conditions here weren't the best.
Nope.
But anywhere that's got a dome, you were able to play bowls on reasonably quick greens.
Well, that's why we thought we'd throw it out there tonight, mate. With the winter pennants, is there an opportunity there for a new segment to be introduced to clubs and also to Bowls SA or the NBA to potentially change things up a little bit and just keep a few more players in the game a little bit longer?
Yeah, or even have tournaments like, have these 2 or 3 day tournaments at those venues where, if it rains a little bit, it's not affected. And you move them outside the summertime, which allows a few of the grass green clubs to, hold tournaments and things like that. And it just gives a little bit more space in the calendar.
Yep, exactly right. And that's probably where I'm leaning towards, is the space in the calendar, because it's tightening up quite a lot, isn't it?
Fairly full.
Exactly right. All right, mate, we better wind things up there, mate. Osty, thanks for joining us tonight. I know it was a bit of a last-minute sort of call-in, but
all good. Thanks for the invite.
Phil's away on holiday, but we'd love to have you back at some stage.
More than happy.
Talked about what we're sort of looking at for next year already, is that we're trying to get around to some clubs and do this live at some clubs, or record maybe at the clubs and then post it a little bit later on. But
Sounds a great idea.
Love to have you involved, mate.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. Like, rate, subscribe, pass it on to friends, family, teammates. Let them know that we're talking bowls and we love bowls as well. Mate, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.